Hey YouTube, just an update on the 68 Mustang fuel line install. This is the hard lines on the passenger side fender and outside of the subframe connectors. I ran those. So what we have here is the supply side. I just put a spot welded a little piece of plate behind the sheet metal just to help that bulkhead fitting be a little bit stronger. And coming across, I welded in these, or just tacked right now, 3/8 little pieces of block that it's tapped. It's a 1032. Got stainless steel fasteners there. Comes across. Got another one here, and then it 90s down. And then I pick up the return side here, same thing. I just tacked in or spot welded in a backup plate for the bulkhead fitting. These are AN-6, and so yeah, I flared these are all obviously AN fittings, so it's 37-degree single flare. And then these come down through, got one last secure spot here, and then I've welded in a 16-gauge piece of 1.5" exhaust pipe. It's aluminized, fully welded in on both sides, so it adds structure back that I had to cut out through that torque box to get those fuel line sets through. I didn't really want to run it underneath that frame rail, so just figured I'd stiffen that up with a piece of tubing there, or the exhaust pipe. So back on the other side, okay, you can see where that comes through on the back side of the torque box. And then all the way on the, probably I'll slide back and show you perspective from the back side. So looking down through, the line sets parallel. Same thing, I mounted little blocks I welded in. Does two things. It gets the tubing off the chassis anomalies, so there's, the different variations in the pan. I matched it up to the fenders, or to the underside of the floor pan, and it profiles up through. And then I couldn't do it all in one shot, so I put in couplings right here. Those are just AN couplings. So I've got from this point forward is one piece of tubing steel, and that goes up to the bulkhead fittings on the front passenger side fender. And then on the back side, then it got a little interesting. There's a lot of geometry here. So because it's a 4-link rear now, I ran the fuel lines up around the frame rails. I don't know if you can see that, but there was a lot of interesting geometry here. And the reason I did that is because I want the exhaust to come out the back side, so I want to make as much room as I can and keep as much spacing as I can get at the exhaust. But my exhaust has to come in through here, so I've got limited space there, and I wanted to get as much room as I could up through here. And then that comes across, and then I connect to come underneath here. So, yeah, right here. And that's the Generation 2 Aeromotive Stealth tank. It's the direct fit. It's got the factory location on it. So that's your supply and return lines. And they're tied in. Next weekend I've ordered parts to do pressure testing on both line sets, and I'll just test them from the tank to the bulkhead fittings, and then on the motor side that's all braided lines, which I've already shown. So I don't know if I'll come around here, show you this was I had a little challenge up through here. The first line set I did I wasn't very happy with, but it's kind of awkward, but the second one came out much better. So if I have someday it really bugs me, I'll switch it out, but it's not kinked or anything, it's just too much bend. So, and then I've got one block that I mounted up top here. And then you can see how that comes around. And let me see. Comes over. Then I double up 45 here around the subframe connector. And what I'm going to do with the subframe connector is I'm going to add some plate on this. So it'd be a good jacking point too. Help that be a good jack point for the rear. So with those fuel lines now where they are, it's really no great place to jack on the back end. So I'm going to add some steel on this subframe connector. It's pretty strong right now, but just to be sure. So, and I'll give you a perspective from this other end here. So you can see, tried to follow the subframe connector as best I could. I had a little bit of different offsets to make the end point work out, but overall I'm pretty happy with how it went in. Still have to do a little fine tuning, but overall I think those are all set. So like I said, I'm going to pressure test next weekend or as soon as I get my fittings, and if everything checks out, then it's on to the exhaust, hopefully. Because, and in the exhaust I have to finalize all my driveline angles. They're close right now. Obviously I had to blow up this whole front suspension to get that, because those pieces are so long, pulling those out, it comes through your suspension. So I had to blow this up just to be able to get that fuel line in. Anyway, that's just the update for the fuel lines. If you have any questions or suggestions, don't hesitate to let me or shoot them my way. Thanks. Bye.